What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I'm break down what's going on with SPY, Nvda, Tesla, the Sqqq, and a couple of tickers out there. I'm breaking down some very important information about the markets that's going on right now and what you should be watching for, and also something very important about the markets as we have some very interesting earnings coming out and some interesting stuff for tomorrow. But before breaking down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things before starting. I am personally not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, guys, looking at the market, we have a very interesting setup here on SPY, but just to be frank, the market has been just range bound and very boring for the last couple of trading days, if not the last like week and a half, right? We're not really seeing anything too crazy besides the drop after the FOMC meeting. And the market is just continuing to just range trade and not do anything too crazy. But the question is, how will the market move approaching the earnings of like Apple and Amazon, and how may the market respond to that? That's what's going to be the big question for this week. Now, looking at some data, we don't really have anything too big coming out for tomorrow besides some crude oil data. But going into Thursday, we have like initial jobless claims and more significant stuff. We don't really have too much on the data side for tomorrow, though. Now, for earnings, however, we do have some big stuff coming out. We currently have AMD's earnings coming out at the time I'm recording this. It's actually like starting to pump a little bit as of right now, but this could change depending on the earnings call. Besides that, for tomorrow, we have CVS, and then a couple of others in the morning. And then in the afternoon or after the market closes, we have PayPal and Shopify, two big ones coming out for tomorrow. And then for Thursday, we have Amazon, Apple, and Coinbase, the big companies coming out, which are going to dictate the entire stock market going into Friday. Now, one thing I want to mention is that as we approach earnings for Amazon and Apple, there's a possibility these big tech companies may start pumping a little bit. I don't think it's going to be that crazy or that big, but I do believe they're going to start holding up a lot nicer. They may start pushing up a little bit. And then after the earnings come out, that's when we're going to see a big reaction. So, in essence, when they start pumping and trying to hold up just a little bit, this could help the market hold up a bit. And we might see the market actually bounce a bit tomorrow, just a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to be a crazy, huge bounce to some insane numbers, kind of like what we saw, a couple of days ago, even like yesterday when the market got this like bounce, something very minor. And it's not really that crazy as the market is quite sideways and range bound for now. But I do think it's worth noting that the market will make an attempt to either gap up, in my opinion, and start pushing a little bit and maybe retest 458 again. However, resistance is very tight in that 458 zone. It's very hard for the market to break above that, for SPY to break that. So we might not break above it that easily. We might just get rejected and just trade sideways after that. But I am anticipating the market's going to get a small bounce and then try to hold up and then become very sideways, especially for the next couple of days, and start reacting to some big earnings after that. But that's what I'm basically seeing. Now, some people have come to me and said, wait, isn't there a head and shoulders on SPY? Well, the thing about this is you could have looked at the chart right here, for example, right? And you could have said that, oh, there was this head and shoulders on SPY, just like this, right? We had this head right over here. We had this left shoulder. We had this right shoulder. The market should have tanked all the way down to this like 450 area, if not lower than that. Instead, what we did was we bounced and we continued to pump afterwards, right? It didn't really play out all the way. We didn't actually come all the way down to like these low levels right here. Another example could be like right here where it formed like a head and shoulders like formation right about here. And instead of actually sinking much lower, it didn't actually sink that much. It actually got another bounce and continued pumping. So it just shows that these head and shoulders don't always play out perfectly on SPY as much as you'd want it to. And is it a possibility? It will, of course. But like I said before, I'm not really counting on that. I don't want to solely trade based off that. We want to look at what the chart is telling us for now. And the chart is looking very sideways, not really doing a whole lot. I do think we may gap up tomorrow as the market is held above the 30-minute 200 EMA. We might see a gap up tomorrow. We may see SPY try to push up just a little bit, maybe retest 458 or so, because Apple and these other big tech stocks may try to hold up. And then we might see sideways boring price action, kind of like today, and close the day, a little bit green. And then going into the IWM, I'm seeing potentially the same thing. It could gap up and retest like 198 or so, get a little bit higher. We have this unfilled gap around this 198 level. It looks like it almost filled it, but it came just short during the pre-markets today. So we could be watching for a retest of about 198.9, a small little pop before it comes right back down and see some sideways price action. Now for Tesla, it's a little bit different. Tesla has resistance at the 50 EMA at around 267 as of right now, and has support around 255 or our 200 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. Once again, going back and forth and back and forth. Now, I think Tesla might gap up tomorrow and then start to trade sideways. I don't think Tesla's going to break out that hard unless we get some kind of bullish catalyst. It may gap up, then come right back down, trade kind of sideways. Tesla's losing some internal strength relative to before. So that's all I'm seeing for Tesla for tomorrow. I'm going to try to keep that one very simple. For Apple, if you're bullish, you want to see this thing break out a little bit. I think Apple may have a green day tomorrow. It's been holding the 20 EMA so far. It may try to gap up to about 196 and try pushing for 197.2, then come down and still close quite green. And it may start pumping, approaching its earnings. We could see like 198 or so, but like right before Thursday or maybe during Thursday. And then after the market closes on Thursday, that's when we're going to see a very big reaction. It could pump very, very high into the 200s or come crashing down, which will sink the entire market. So be very prepared for that. Earnings are going to be very big for this company, and I do believe it's going to uptrend right before earnings, approaching it, which could help the market hold up. Now, for the QQQ, okay, the QQQ could potentially break out and retest 384 in my opinion. Has a nice accumulation here, forming a cup and handle. If that does play out, we could see this pump a little bit more. It's about 388. If it fails to do so, you're going to be watching support around 380. If that breaks, it's going to come all the way down to 378 or lower than that. What do I think is more likely? Well, it is very sideways right now, not really doing anything, but it could get a bounce thanks to tech, maybe a small one, and retest 385. And I think that it's going to be dictated by, what we see from the big tech stocks. Maybe Apple does try to pump a little bit. Looking at Nvda, we're going to be waiting for AMD's earnings. The current setup on Nvda is not really that bad. If you look at it, just look at Nvda like this. On the 4-hour time frame, it still is respecting an uptrend, but it has this very tight resistance right here that's stopping it from breaking out. So looking at it, we have a nice inverse head and shoulder structure that's still valid. It failed to get all the way up here, and now we're going to be watching which way it breaks. It's getting very, very tight. So the bears are going to argue that Nvidia should fall all the way down to 460 and then drop below that and come all the way down to these lower levels, like 458 or below that. The bulls are going to argue that Nvidia should be popping and trying to break like 470. Right now, it's very tight, so it may remain a little bit tight for the time being. But once AMD kicks off, if it does continue to pump, this could help Nvidia try to break 470. If that breaks, you're going to be watching 474, then potentially retest of 480. What do I think is more likely? Well, I'm kind of in the middle with Nvidia now. The setup is a little bit more bullish than bearish, but just to be safe, you have to wait for confirmation. So for today, for example, we failed to break 470, so we didn't really break out very hard. We also failed to break below 460, so we didn't really tank too hard. So we're kind of in the middle, trying to hold above the 20 EMA for the majority of the time. My gut tells me it's kind of in the middle, and maybe it tries to break above the upside and tries to get above 470 because of AMD, but just to be safe, wait for confirmation just for safety. So far, we don't really have that. It is trying to hold up for now, so we could get a little pop before we start to see downside later on, of course. But for now, we might see this thing just react to what we see from AMD, and so far it's looking a little bit more bullish, but wait for confirmation and wait for your levels just to be safe. On Microsoft, the same thing is going on. We have a potential inverse head and shoulder structure that is developing. We need to break above 340. If it breaks that, we could be seeing this thing pop all the way up to this imbalance, get closer to about this 350 area. But there's no confirmation of the break yet. If it does try to break like 340, we still have to wait for that. Now, if it were to hypothetically break below 333, it's going to come all the way down to about 329 to 330 and sink down lower. For now, it's very tight, looking for a nice move. I want to see if it could break 340 for the time being. AMD, I think earnings is just about to come out. It is trying to pop so far, but we're going to have to wait on the guidance call just for safety. I can't really record this during the time of the call. It's going to take a while, and I want to get this video out as fast as possible. For the Sqqq, this thing is on the verge of, once again, this thing is kind of in the middle so far, getting very, very tight, not doing much. I wouldn't say it's breaking out or even breaking down right now. It's just very, very sideways, very flat. Now, if Apple and these stocks start holding up, we might see this thing start sinking a little bit, just a little bit, thanks to the QQQ pumping. But once again, we have to wait for the direction to be confirmed as the market is very sideways. Looking at the dollar index, it's trying to pump a little bit, which is a little bearish for the markets, but it's nothing too significant. We're just going to watch it carefully. If it gets this rejection off 102.5, it could retest to 200, which could help the market pump a little bit. We'll have to wait and see if that's the case. If it does break below this level, we're going to be watching for a retest of 101.6. Still waiting for that. Looking at Google, we're currently testing like 132. If we break below this 131.89 zone, we could see this thing come down to about 128 if it continues to break below 130. But if it gets a bounce, you'll be watching for it to retest 134. It's very tight right now, not really picking a direction, but it's looking a little bit more bearish on the 4-hour time frame. So we might see it retest like 128 before it tries to bounce. Looks a little bit more likely, but just watch for confirmation to be safe. For Amazon, this thing came down just as I predicted in the morning, retesting this 131 area. However, it may try to bounce as we get closer to earnings. So we're going to be watching it to potentially retest 134. If that breaks, 136 becomes a possibility. I think it's possible it's forming a cup and handle, and we might see Amazon bounce and push for 136 over the next couple of days. But watch and see if it could hold 131. If that fails us, then that's going to be a bearish signal. For now, it has not done that, so we're going to be watching this just to be safe. And for Meta, it's trying to hold up. It's getting very, very tight as well. The bulls want to see it break above 325. If that breaks, then 330 could come. The bears want to see it break below 318. If that breaks, it's going to come all the way down to about this like this 315 level, or maybe a little bit lower than that. For now, it's trying to hold up, so it's looking quite decent. So what do I see going on with this? I mean, there is a potential, a very, very nice looking wedge that's forming right here. You can actually draw that out quite nicely. So with this wedge that's like really tight between here and here, in my opinion, there's going to be a big move coming very soon for it. In my opinion, I think it's kind of favoring the upside a little bit. It may actually try to hold above these levels as it's making higher highs and higher lows. So we might see a 330 retest on Meta. It's really, really possible, but we'll have to see if it can break 325 just to be safe. All right, guys, so I want to keep this one kind of short. I hope you guys found value in this video. Yes, the market could hold it for the time being, but what about any potential pullback in the markets that I was talking about earlier? Well, I mentioned we need to have a catalyst, and it may take a couple of days, a couple of weeks, depending on Apple's and Amazon's earnings. So the best thing to do is just be patient and wait and see if we get any confirmation, and remain calm, cool, and collected, because I will be back for another video. All right, thank you for listening. The market to the moon, as the long term is still incredibly bright, despite what we're seeing right here. I do think the market may try to gap up and try to hold up tomorrow, and then we will see a big reaction after Apple and Amazon's earnings come out. And then until then, it's going to be very interesting, okay? Yes, could the market pull back in the future? Yes, it is a possibility. For now, it's not doing that, and we're not really seeing SPY breaking below 452 yet to confirm that. So just read the chart in front of you and watch confirmation of support and resistance, and do what you have to do. I hope that's as clear as possible. Have a great day, everyone. Market to the moon as the long term is very bright once again, and peace out.